Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Economy and Infrastructure Service Transformation Committee on this 16th of January. Happy New Year to everybody. We'll go straight on to item 1, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Stuart Rice and Nicola Matthews. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sal. Then any disclosures of personal and prejudicial interests? No? So if you...
I suppose all of us really, because I think there's not one ward that hasn't been benefited by the Shared Prosperity Fund in some way or another. And probably we've all made applications to it. But which is a matter for everyone else.
Yeah.
But I certainly, in my ward, we've had applications come in.
Thank you, Robert. Well, if we go through the minutes and you say, "Oh, I should have declared interest," just jump in and declare it then. Item 3 then is to approve and sign the minutes of the previous meeting as a correct record, pages 1 to 3, pages 1, page 2, page 3, and minutes as a whole. Thank you, Anne and Mike. Yeah. Thank you very much. And then straight on to update UK Shared Prosperity Fund, and that's Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so I'll take you quickly through the report as promised, just in the autumn, coming back with an update on where things are at, and it's a bit of a mixed picture. Some good news and quite a bit of uncertainty ahead, I guess. So a reminder that the programme, the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, was one of the partial replacements for the European funding that used to be received when we were members of the European Union. Shared Prosperity Fund was one of the levelling up funds under the previous UK government, and the last vestiges of that are what we're working with now. In Wales, we have been required to work regionally. So there's a regional level allocation, but also that is specified then down to local level. Each local authority has a specific amount to work with. In terms of implementation, as members will be aware, we chose to operate an anchor project approach, meaning that there would be certain key themed projects around business, employability, communities, placemaking, investments, culture and tourism, and rural development, which are all pressures identified as manifesto commitments for the authority, to ensure that there were a number of tailored access routes to the programme for businesses and communities, as well as then an opportunity for third-party organisations to bid to wrap around that delivery. So all in all, quite a strategic approach, and that approach was followed by the other 3 partner local authorities in South West Wales. Not necessarily the same number of anchor projects in each local authority, depending on budget and local circumstances, and where possible adapting to existing partnership and governance structures, rather because there wasn't time to start recreating entirely new arrangements. And each of those schemes includes a balance of staff to run the programme and administer and provide services, as well as money then allocated for organisations to access. And we know that across the piece, it's been possible to deliver funding to a huge range of activities, from very large capital projects down to very small community activities. The entire sweep has been possible, and it's also been easier than previously to respond to in-year queries about particular issues that may come up during the year due to the flexibility of the programme. There's been an element as well of this programme as testing approaches and testing the way that local place-based economic regeneration can function. And hopefully we've tested that approach to the extreme, I guess, with the way this programme's been delivered. It's also been possible for certain activities to be undertaken locally as well, and we've produced a quarterly monitoring report, and again the latest version of that has been included with the papers. The programme has been delivering significant results which are captured in the report. The figures in the STC report itself will have been exceeded by now. There's always more going on, and I guess moving to section 4, the big question now is what happens next, and that was the big question at the last of these meetings as to what would be happening next. So we do have confirmation that across the United Kingdom 900 million has been allocated, which represents approximately a 42% reduction over the existing year 3 allocation across the United Kingdom. And that has now translated down into funding allocations at local level. So for Swansea in particular, that means approximately 10 million of revenue and 4 million, just under 4 million of capital funding. But that has to be utilised by the 31st of March 2026, at which point the programme will cease completely. So everything has to be done by that point. So this next year, or the months leading up to March 2026, are going to be significant in determining what future funding arrangements will be, who administers them, what format is chosen for that, what partnership arrangements the UK and Welsh governments choose to implement. This particular programme was delivered direct to local government, which was controversial. Welsh governments are now in those discussions with UK government, and we have to see what comes of those discussions as to where the programme goes next. I guess I want to highlight, and I think at the last meeting I highlighted the way this particular programme has given us such a great level of flexibility to design funding opportunities that enable ongoing access for the private and third sectors at varying scales, and is creating jobs during the programme. That's quite rare. Normally you have to wait years and years and years for outcomes to take place, but we know with this programme that we are creating jobs in the economy. It is measurable, and all of that is documented in the monitoring report. And it's really about funding the economy that we recognise, the micro businesses that this place and region is made up of, and helping those micro businesses to make the best of the situation, as well as the communities that provide colour to the place we live and are the reason that people will want to invest. If a place has strong backbone of micro businesses and is a nice place to be, that's a huge part of the encouragement of people wanting to invest. I think I'll leave it there in terms of the overview. We discussed in some detail last time the actual mechanics of what was going on and outcomes to date, and the dozens of companies we've supported and communities. But I guess the real debate now will be about what is going to happen with funding post March 2026, and we don't have the answer to that yet, other than there'll need to be a lot of effort going into feeding back on how this programme has gone and what expectations are from all partners as to what comes next. So I'll leave it there, Chair, and happy to take questions.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Anybody got questions? Nobody online? Robert?
Yeah, just comments really, and I'd like to thank Paul Ralph and his team for the tremendous work that they've done, not just for Swansea, but is for the entire region of the Swansea City region. Neath Port Talbot, Carmarthen, Pembroke, along with Swansea, all the work has gone through the department that Paul is managing. I think it's something like £158 million worth of money has come through that office, and the expertise that has grown up within that workforce. And I do really worry for the future if after this next year, it just reverts back to money going from central government to Welsh government. And the reason for my anxiety is that by the time money then trickles down from Welsh government to local government, and we look at it, decides what schemes we want to support, then make the applications, then we apply to Welsh government, who might have questions to ask on that, and that comes back, and then we give the answers. There might be further questions to ask. Before you look round, 6 to 8 months is gone, and then they come back and tell you that you got 4 months in which to go and procure the work and get it done and make sure it's finished. The last year, I think, has been the most successful I know this fund being administered, because it's done locally for localities. I think it's helped communities improve greatly because of it. and it's brought people working together better. And so I do worry about the long term. The entire ethos behind devolution was that bringing decision making down to the lowest denominator. And so therefore, if it's right for Welsh Government to be making decisions rather than central government, it's right that local government decide and make those decisions locally, not having it centralised in Cardiff and telling local people what they want. So in Pembroke make the decisions, Carmarthen make the decisions, Eastbourne, Talbot and Swansea should. And I think that has been really, really successful. So I'd like to thank the staff that's done that. The sooner that central government and Welsh government come to a decision, it will take the anxiety away from a workforce that could see who are highly trained, very efficient. We could lose that expertise that has grown up locally. But my final words is the thanks to Paul Ralph and his team. They've absolutely been excellent. And I'm sure everybody in their own wards have seen how that's made a difference.
Thank you, Robert. I think in the last time we spoke about this, I think this project was coming to an end because I don't think the extra year had been announced then. And since then it finishes, say, on March 2026. The question that comes to mind is that enough time for us to spend all this money? Because like Robert said, if somebody wants to kick something off now, and it's only got to be done in 14 months, that's very, very tight scale. Followed by, have we got any applications in the pipeline? So that means they would be done within the 14 months. And thirdly, we administered this. Did we employ people to administer this? And what's going to happen in the future with them? So if the answer is no, there's nothing to answer.
Okay, I'll try and take those, Chair. So in terms of the transition year, it is effectively a year 4, albeit there's been quite a delay in actually getting confirmation that was going to happen. I would say that we're quite well placed in South West Wales and in Swansea because of the structure of the programme, that we can adapt quickly to be able to absorb the extra money. So that will hopefully mean, the principles I'm working to and will be recommending to Cabinet in the next few weeks is that, broadly speaking, we maintain the existing structure that everybody seems comfortable with in terms of the way that, with some modest refinements, to keep the various grant programs alive, particularly for the private and third sectors, and the services that the teams are providing across the council, as well as then potentially extending some of the third-party projects where appropriate. There are certain examples where they're already very strategically aligned and the partnerships are built, for example, in skills, where I think it would make more sense to be able to extend those programs using the extra money rather than inviting new projects that will only have a very short time scale to operate, but with the caveat that all the grant schemes will be available for smaller projects to access. So on that base, plus there are some shovel-ready capital schemes that we could look to support with Cabinet approval that desperately need to be done and require funding and are ready to go, subject to agreement with Cabinet, of course. Obviously, there are significant staffing implications connected to the programme. There's a significant number of jobs across the region that are tied up in delivery, both of relatively small percentage of the programme, less than 4% is allocated to administration. It's a very lean process, but projects do require staff to operate them, and that is a fairly sizable number. It's in the hundreds, not the tens, across the region, not just in local government, but across partners as well, which, they may find a home in future funding arrangements and they may not. So that's where we have the uncertainty, and without knowing if there's a direct successor, then it's inevitable that staff retention will start to become an issue, which is something we'll have to contend with during the year. But but we are planning the use of the funds to make sure that we can maximise what's available for as long as we possibly can. And it's a strong and dedicated set of people that we're working with, which I'm personally grateful for, to all the staff that deliver across this programme, both within local government and beyond, and the effort they make. But there is that uncertainty coming, which is a thing for ongoing discussion, which is probably no, Chair, but we'll see.
Thank you, Paul. Mike?
Yes, thank you, Paul. In regards to the projects, I know issues like relating to schools and things we've done, with schools. There've been issues obviously with the actual procurement processes and of course getting hold of labour and materials. If there was some sort of wriggle room then to perhaps extend some of these schemes, would there be any penalties then imposed on the council because we had to extend them?
Not necessarily, no. We can't carry money from this current financial year, so any underspends from the first 3-year tranche, albeit we only had 2 years to deliver the 3 years, that has to remain being spent this financial year, and the majority of projects are on track to spend to profile, so that the underspend will be quite small if there is any, and there is potential to reallocate that to existing projects if necessary, once everybody's had the opportunity to maximise the outcomes of the programme. But we have got the option, again subject to cabinet approval, for extending the anchor projects, in particular the ability to extend commitments into next year, but those commitments will have to come out of next year's money. So it's that thing of, is it desirable to be taking money out of potential new projects next year, reflecting against what might be feasible this year? So we do have those options, and we are in constant dialogue with all projects on these matters. But where possible, we're trying to encourage everybody to spend this year's money this year as far as possible. Where there are emergency cases, of which I'm aware of a few, we can obviously look to try to support them into next year, but we have to balance that against needing to be able to invest in further commitments as necessary, as deemed necessary next year. There's less money, arguably, overall next year, which will be quite tight, really, in terms of delivery. Not sure if that answers the question.
Yeah, he's not making faces at me, so yeah, what do you mean by this year? You mean by March 26?
Yeah. Yes.
I think echoing what Robert said, your team has done an excellent job. We're on the right track on spending most of this. I think what we can go back to, we've got the cabinet member here, take back to the leader, is what's happening after March 26. Because this is an excellent scheme, but we've got to have something to carry on from it. Because when we had the European money, it was there year on year. Now we've got this for this year, but nothing coming out of what's going to happen from there on. We don't want to hit the brick wall. We want to carry on moving forward the way we are now. So it's not to you, Paul. This is for Robert to take back to the cabinet. And if anything comes up with the Welsh Government, this is what we need for next year with regards to funding. And Robert's going to come back now.
Already done. The leaders, but I think Welsh Government, have consulted with it. I don't think they consulted with us, I think, as a local authority. I think they will be making efforts for it to go back to the centre in Cardiff. I personally am not happy with that. I much prefer it to be distributed in the way it's been this last year. I haven't had one member come up to me and say they haven't found it a big improvement this last year. And that is because having good quality staff and being very efficient and effective in the way it's distributed, and it's been far more efficient all round. So I think it's down to everybody to keep on to Welsh Government and to representatives on central government, members of Parliament, etc., and convince them that the way we've been dealing with it is the best way.
Thank you, Robert. I read somewhere that on the last monthly report we had, there was a meeting taking place where people were coming along and it was fully booked. And that was in March or something last year. And then another one was going to be held in October. I'm looking for it, but yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about, Paul?
Was it to do with business support or?
It was in the monthly, not the monthly report, the September one.
I guess it would depend which theme, Chair.
No, I've lost it.
But I'm happy
right.
to follow up afterwards, no problem.
Yeah, okay, yeah. When I find it again, I'll email you.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah. Okay, well, at least the first one was fully booked, so it shows that people did show an interest. Right, any more questions? No? Nobody online? That's all I can say is thank you very much, Paul. You're welcome anytime when you got good news for us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Right, we go to the work plan. And if you look at February, we're doing improving public toilets. That's Jeff Bacon. So I don't have to phone you. Don't have to phone you now. And the local development plan 2, which I got to have words with Tom Evans about. So hopefully that will remain with us, because I think there's another STC playing for it as well. So we got to get in first. Okay. And that's it on the work plan. Nobody else wants to jump in on the work plan? Okay. Thank you very much. And the ones online, thank you very much for attending. See you in 6 weeks. Thank you.